Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome once again to another fabulous Greater Lawrence of Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, and I want to start by wishing my mother a happy birthday. I don't know how a 52-year-old woman could have a 51-year-old son, but somehow it worked. So happy birthday. And welcome to all of you who are watching both live in person right now and those who are going to be watching over the next week or two on our podcast. Today we are very excited. We have as our guest from the west side of Indianapolis, District 92, State Representative Karlee Macer. She joins us. Karlee, welcome very much to the Lawrence Chamber Chat.
Thank you so much. It's so great to see all of you today. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You're welcome. So as we're talking in the pre-show portion of this, you were the Indiana Chambers, let me make sure I get this right, Indiana Chambers Small Business Champion and the Indiana Chambers Legislative Champion back in 2016. Thank you for all you've done for small business. You also work on the Commerce, Small Business, and Economic Development Committee. And I just know from my dealings with you in the past, small businesses are near and dear to your heart. So we'll get into some of this later, but for those of you who don't know, Karlee is just finishing her 4th term in the legislature and is not running for re-election this year. So first, Karlee, I just want to ask you, what's been going on with yourself and what's on the horizon, and just tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I've been really busy working. I am the state representative here on the west side of Indianapolis. And as we all know, I mean, it doesn't matter where you live, what our communities are facing, whether it is our small businesses. I've definitely been helping a lot of folks related to small business issues, but certainly the unemployment issues. I've been very, very busy along with Kyle, the young man that works with me as a legislative assistant. And that hasn't slowed at all. It's been very busy. So that's been a lot of what I've had going on. I too, it was really important. I think most of the people who have the opportunity to serve, you know, I realized not only was I not running for re-election, but I was kind of excited about taking a little bit of a break. I made sure I worked extra hard to be able to, you know, take more than just a couple of weeks off, but to give it a good 30 days and be able to spend some time with my family and really focus on all the other important things. And of course, this pandemic happened. And you know, that pretty much has happened, you know, the day right after session was over. I too, it was a very scary time. My husband had a stroke back in April, and that was certainly very scary time for both of us. Fortunately for my husband, Chad, he's doing very well and is a great patient. And fortunately for us, we you know, he has good healthcare coverage as well as he has a great employer. So he is back to his old self and pretty much getting, you know, driving me a little bit crazy. But that has really provided me some real focus too. I've always enjoyed my work and enjoyed living. I think most people know that. But it has really propelled me to even be more excited about whatever's next for me. And to be fair, I'm still kind of working on that. I'm in the healthcare business, so I've been working for a great company, Northwest Healthcare, as a clinical liaison for the past few years. But I'm trying to figure out exactly how I can use my skill set to really help people in a way that I know is my work. And so I'm not quite sure if that is, you know, continuing in politics you know, I'm interested in helping solve some of the problems moving forward with our workforce and a lot of needs that people are going to have. So I just really am pretty much trying to keep it open now, but I am itching for something amazing to get to working on and solving some kind of problems and issues. That's what I really love.
So for those who may or may not know you very well, so Representative Macer, she had a Facebook page called Karlee Macer for State Representative or Karlee Macer for Representative. Back about the first of the year, that page changed its name to Karlee Macer for Indiana. So tell us a little bit about what that was all about.
Yeah. Well, again, I got to tell you, my life is pretty incredible. I get to have the absolute best experiences. But to tell you a little bit what that was all about, I have been, just busy working. I have been working hard at the State House, and at the time too, over the past couple of years, been spending quite a bit of time helping other people around the state. And it was so interesting that as I was busy working, taking care of the constituents on the West Side and working on policies at the State House, I'll never forget, Brad, it was a very interesting call that I had received. And it was a call asking if I had ever considered running for state office, and that being the governor, if I had ever thought or considered that, or would I, or should I, and ask if that was something that I would think about. And I honestly, I was so surprised by that phone call in a way that not that it's not deserving of my work or anything, but I'm not in the cool club, shall we say. I'm not in the, I'm somebody who was a community activist, ran for office, got elected. And, I'm kind of an aggressive lady. I think most people know that. But how that really happened was it was kind of one of those things where it caught me off guard. But Brad, something that I've known for years and that I've been taught is to take every opportunity seriously. And even though it hadn't been something that I was raising my hand thinking, oh gee, I want to go, run for the governor of the state of Indiana, given the fact I've only been in politics for about 7 years, I still, there was a part of me that knew that it was important for me to follow through and to at least be willing to take that conversation serious. And that's exactly what I did. And I will say, it was interesting to me after I went to my first meeting, and there were no other women there to start with. And I was just surprised by that right away, because I thought, oh my goodness, there's so many incredible people that I know that could be in government at the top doing incredible work. And so it was a very interesting, evolving time. But I got to tell you, I really have enjoyed the experience. I really enjoyed the opportunity. I enjoyed even being a part of a discussion to be able to lead a state that I love so much, and to do something that I couldn't even have dreamed up just, a few short years ago.
So ultimately, what made that decision for you? I know you dabbled in it, which it was interesting. So not only did you decide not to run for governor, you also decided not to run for state representative. I'm speculating that you are not done with politics and being involved, building up not only your community, but also the state of Indiana. So tell me how that decision process went.
Well, ultimately, at the end of the day, it really, in my mind, I'm a business leader. People on the West Side have known me for my work in the business sector, healthcare sector, well before being in politics. So, just being realistic with the opportunities that any good Democrat would have in a race for 2020. Number one, being realistic in the commitment of raising money to be able to accomplish that. So it's not that I'm not a fighter, or I don't think that I would have had a good opportunity. It really came down to the business side of things. And unfortunately, in my opinion, what I realized after traveling the state for a couple of years is the infrastructure in the state of Indiana for Democrats is almost non-existent. And I think it's that way, though, to be fair, for most states that are predominantly red, as well as it would be the opposite for a Democrat state, right? So recognizing that and seeing so many incredible leaders willing to step up to roles of government, I realized that there was no way no way that the best candidate, unless it was based on luck, and I don't do anything on luck, I knew that it was important that maybe instead of making a decision like run for governor, it might be better to actually take a step back and do what I do best, which is the real tough work, the hard work that nobody wants to do. I've been raising my hand doing hard work for as long as I can remember. And so I recognize that there are going to continue to be incredible people willing to step up to serve all of us, regardless of what our political affiliation is. But for us as Democrats, that is not going to happen until we have the infrastructure, the tools, the resources for all of the folks around the state of Indiana that are putting themselves out there wanting to do the work, but just need the resources and somebody really showing up for them. So I don't know if that means any official position at this time, but I do know I would like to make sure that Democrats in the future of this state have real opportunities, not just weighing on so much of the timing and the luck of everything. No, I want it to be very efficient. And one thing that I'm good at is plans and executing them. I kind of like that.
So now I'm assuming you are not done with politics. Is that a fair assumption?
Well, I'd like to say, it's funny because people who are in politics and have been in politics, they say it's kind of interesting how it's a roller coaster ride. There are days where honestly, I just thought I was, serious about moving on and continuing to help, people that want to run for office, things like that. But there's a part of me that realizes more now than even just a few months ago how important it is for me to stay engaged. I love the state of Indiana, and I also love the people of this state. So when you have been really privileged with an opportunity to travel around the state and meet so many great people, you can't forget those faces. And so I think too, people know I didn't receive the award from the Indiana State Chamber at the same time as the Indiana AFL-CIO, the same year. So I was their champion and the Chamber's champion. And, I know there's only maybe been a few people that's been able to make that happen, but for me personally, I think that it's important, like people like me are involved that are willing to find some good compromises, but also not be focused on a title, but the work. And you watch people long enough, you can see that. And so I think that's a pretty big part of how I made that decision and kind of how I've evolved to where I'm at now and what I'm willing to do. But certainly it needs to be my work, and I want to make sure that I can help as many people as possible.
Nice. Well, I don't want to put any words in your mouth, and this is just pure speculation on my part, but there's a mayor on the 25th floor downtown that doesn't seem to be liking that job very well. I could very well see a case where if Biden wins in the fall, Indianapolis's mayor maybe gets pulled into that administration, and suddenly there's an opening for somebody who is able to cross the aisle. In fact, you and I have had that conversation that neither of us cleanly fit into our stated political party, but I also think that that's probably good for getting things done. So would that be an interest in the future for you?
Well, I got to tell you, it has never, people have mentioned that occasionally to me. It isn't anything that I'm over here raising my hand about. I think that there are some incredible leaders that have been involved with our city that are elected that have really, shown some good leadership. But as far as I've learned, look, I tell my kids I could be selling jewelry in New York City a year from now and having no background in jewelry whatsoever. That's how life works. And it's a beautiful thing. So as much as I have never thought about being the mayor of the city of Indianapolis, I got to tell you, people know I love this city and my community just about more than anything. So I could definitely see myself continuing to be involved in some way to help city government as well as state and federal government. We'll see what that looks like.
Nice. So let me ask you, you're from Speedway. Speedway is very similar to Lawrence in how it's part of Unigov and it's part of Marion County, but it also has its own identity and its own culture. Um, what do you see as opportunities for Speedway, Lawrence, maybe Beech Grove, Southport, and one of the challenges on how do we separate ourselves from the image of Indianapolis while continuing to build up central Indiana?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, outside of representing Speedway, which I grew up closer to the airport, so right outside of Speedway. But I also represent a town that my kids are very proud of. We lived in Claremont for several years before I'm right outside of the Claremont town area. But so what I think is pretty incredible, certainly about Lawrence and Beech Grove and Speedway, is that town piece to it. And what I've realized as somebody who really loves economic development and community development, the opportunities are different for a town versus what's available for us when we're talking about a city or state when it comes to all kinds of different opportunities. I think that is really been exciting to be able to witness the opportunities that have existed. And honestly, it's kind of exciting because the town of Claremont, which is on the very far outskirts of Marion County to the Hendricks County line, they're primed to be able to be in a position, and really they've been doing a lot of great work for years, but it's kind of exciting to think about a town like Claremont. But certainly Lawrence and Beech Grove and Speedway, to kind of set themselves apart, I think all of us have done a really good job trying to work on that and seeing how things have evolved with really the town pride. You all have so many great things going on in your community, and I look at it every time I'm over in Lawrence. I think of the same thing that I see as I look at my community, and that is even the areas outside of Speedway, is just the enormous opportunity that is there, but also the opportunity to have that community pride, those small businesses, to kind of bring it in a little bit different than what we get to do as a larger city. It's the pride and the opportunity for businesses, just you all having your separate chamber in a way, just like Speedway does. And it just is an opportunity for your businesses, and I believe for your families and community, to be able to work together to provide more opportunities for people to come spend money in your great community.
So before I open it up to questions from the assembled masses here, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you had an Indigo Funding bill that went through the legislature this last year.
Yes.
And there was an amendment to hijack it, which it's important just because the Purple Line is scheduled to run to Lawrence, so that was going to jeopardize the funding on that. Would you talk just a little bit about how all that happened and how you were finally able to get that amendment out?
Wow.
That's a big question.
If one of these days I'm going to write a book, and it got to tell you what, it was a very, very exciting up and down roller coaster time for somebody who is a policy geek. It was all hands on deck every second. You did not know what was going to happen next. But basically, what actually really happened at the end of the day was that there was also another bill that was being heard in the Senate that did not get voted on. And it was really more about our legislators fighting with each other as the result of why those changes happened, whether that being from the amendment or the bill in general. It really wasn't necessarily, at the end of the day, just about our Indigo funding or the lack thereof.
So it appeared to me, and you might have even said this, somebody said it, but it appears that there was a lot of people that have been elected to the state house who want to dabble in municipal issues. And was that what was going on?
Yes. That is correct. And you know, I know for sure that I just have respect for all folks that are elected in the positions that they hold, whether that be a local or state or federal position. And I do know that Marion County and the folks in Marion County certainly had voted on this, had made those discussions, but it felt like it was kind of the good old boys club fighting with the other good old boys club, and that's really pretty much what that was. But I am happy that President Trump did do the federal funding, and I am happy for all of you about the Purple Line. I have been somebody who has been working day or night. The past president of the 40 West Business Association for West Washington Street. And it's just been something seriously I've been working on for 15 plus years of how important the economic impact of these decisions make. So I know that that's another opportunity for, I think, your community to really thrive as well, is these kinds of opportunities. So I hope that you all are as excited as some of us are here on the West Side for, you know, those economic impacts.
Well, I will take a moment to speak for Lawrence. I think we are excited about some of the things that are going to be happening in the future. And I can foresee that city cores might disperse a little bit, and that's going to be good for Claremont, Speedway, Lawrence, and others. So we've had you on about 20 minutes now. I want to take an opportunity to open up the floor to anybody who might have questions for Representative Macer while she's here. Anyone? If not, I will ask you another question. So in your 8 years, what is your proudest achievement?
In my 8 years, my proudest achievement, I think would overall, it would be, if it was legislatively, I'll give you two. One of a constituent help that had nothing to do with legislative, but the legislative piece would be my veterans work. And that would really, with the focus of our veteran service officers in our counties. I'm sure maybe you knew this, but Marion County was one of the counties that did not have a veteran service officer. And for everybody out there that is not really sure what a veteran service officer is, they help veterans and their families filling out those claims. And you have to have a certified person doing that work, because those claims, if you mess them up, it set that person back quite some time to even be able to fill that out again. So also, I think for all of us, it's important for us to not just do the right thing for veterans, but it is the right thing. It's such an economic impact to our communities, the federal dollars that come in. I think we talk about a lot of ways that we can help veterans and their families, but if we step over the most basic things, that's what I do. Those seniors that I take care of, I help them with their claims. That's money that goes into their pocket that pays my nurses, their rent, the grocery store, their pharmacies, right here in District 92. And I knew how important that is outside of my seniors and my veterans being scammed. So I would say overall, my veterans work, we now have a focus for women veterans as well. That did not exist prior to me being elected. We have someone that now, oversees the importance of women veterans, and that is not, gender specific needs. These are important issues to all veterans. And so I would say that, but overall, I would say probably my most memorable moment where it really meant a lot, and I thought to myself, this is why I put up with all of the BS. This moment right here is why I do it. And that is for a young man that was really struggling, him and his family, with mental health. And it was a 5-year-old young man, and he needed to get in to get care. And he wasn't going to be able to get into this particular place until he was 6 years old. And the other option was his parents could drive 2 hours away for the other place that he could go to. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it really solving that problem and helping that family get the waiver and to be able to have the opportunity. These are both people that work hard in our community, that are in the paramedic profession. and great parents, but to be able to help this little boy and his family as somebody who prides themselves on the constituent piece, that work, that means everything. That helped that family. That was so important to that young man. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than all the other stuff. To me, that's probably been one of my most memorable favorite opportunities to really be able to help like that.
Nice. Natalia, you have a question for Representative Macer?
Go ahead, I'm muted. Okay, cool. Hi, I actually live in Matt Pierce's district in Bloomington. Okay.
Yeah.
I am helping a lot of house races, like in the surrounding areas, like against Peggy Mayfield, and then just kind of surrounding ones, just to try to help flip a district. What's the best way to put pressure on like the House caucus or the state party to really help those races more? Because we're not going to do anything until we start chipping away, both in the House and the Senate. But like, what are your thoughts or maybe suggestions on how to navigate that?
Right. So a lot of times what I have witnessed in the past, unless the race is a competitive race, will you really see the parties getting involved financially. But I think what's missing there and what's really important, I mean, that's a business decision. That I understand that. But there needs to be another arm there for people who, thank you, by the way, for what you're doing. You are appreciated so much. But seriously, for candidates, so many times, Republican or Democrat candidates, when people are running in areas that people say, oh, they don't really have a chance to win. Well, what's important is, regardless, we want people that are qualified to run in communities. We want people to set the stage for that. But even if it's not all the financial resources, to provide them the resources, whether it would have to do with media or how to raise money, at least invest your time to be able to help those folks so they know that they've been heard, they have been seen. How can they organize? What can you do? Because when people run for office, and I'll speak for Democrats, you, in my opinion, are a walking billboard. The work you execute, your excellence every day is who we are and how we should be represented. So in my opinion, if we build our county parties in a way to continue, and by the way, where you're at, it's kind of nice because there's a lot of great things going on. But honestly, around the state, what I've witnessed, there are so many great people who want to help, but unfortunately, they're just not given the tools and the resources. So I think, first of all, I would say most importantly, that your candidate be reaching out. And I'm sure, given that you're talking to me right now, I just know that this is probably all happening already. But to make sure that they are reaching out and asking for the resources that they need as well. And I will tell you this, I personally would be more than happy to be able to help you out as well with any questions or additional conversations that we can have outside of the chamber today to help you, shall we say, in an aggressive way that actually gets results that might be even better. But no matter what, we need to make sure that we're supporting you and candidates that are out there working hard to make sure that they do have the resources and the tools, because that's what it's about. Our communities deserve that.
All right, I know we've got another question from Ross Snyder, who is our in-house Cool Bridge expert. So Ross.
Well, I won't go that far, but yes, I'm in the highway construction business.
All right.
Karlee, thank you for your service in the community and the General Assembly. What advice, this might dovetail into the last question, what advice would you give your successor in the General Assembly? What do they need to know before they take your seat?
Well, there's a lot of things. No, I'm sorry. I'll get it together before I answer that. No, sorry. No, I would say one of the most important things is to not take yourself too seriously. And that being, a lot of times people are in positions that I think it's important to remember your experiences. When you're working on policy, when you are a legislator, it's easy to kind of get caught up in a lot of things around you, the excitement of things. But I think more importantly is the minute that I relaxed enough to realize that if I was just myself, if I could just be Karlee Macer, I was going to be far better off than anything else. So I think, given for me personally, I wasn't in politics prior. So I think a lot of times we think we're supposed to be and sound, and I think I would definitely, and I have said to Renee every time, is to just to continue to be her. There's a lot of people that will tell you when you're running for office, and if you're a mother or a father, you've heard it before, when you have a new baby and everybody wants to tell you how to take care of the new baby. It's the same thing. Everybody wants to tell you how to run a campaign. But for me personally, the best advice that I could give people is be humble. Don't take yourself too serious, and remember who you are, because the experiences that we bring to the General Assembly have everything to do with the policies. And that's why we need to do even more to make sure that we have a diverse backdrop of people who have lived all different kinds of lives, so that we can have the best policies available for all of us. So be yourself.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so Representative Macer, I've asked this twice. What does the future hold for you?
The future holds for me. I am right now, for the next few weeks, as I am kind of wrapping up, I can't believe it's already going to be the middle of the year and the summertime, but I really am starting to feel like it's time for me to figure that out. And so there is a few chances that there might be out there, whether that would be in politics, but my boss from my other job probably wants to hear me say that I plan on staying with them forever. But the reality is, I know for sure that I want to continue to lift up people. I want to lift up communities. I love that. I love to be able to help take people that have a skill set, putting them in positions where they thrive too. And if that is in politics, then the opportunities, we'll see what's there. I'll keep an eye on things, but for me right now, I think most importantly, I'm just going to continue my work as a state representative. Look at all options that come my way. I'm definitely out there to help people with their workforce issues and to continue to do the work that's necessary. But if I'm lucky enough, Brad, to maybe one day be elected again or run for office or maybe even be a party chair, I will never take these opportunities for granted. It is a beautiful thing to take care of 80 and 90-year-olds, because when they're sitting around talking, you learn to just not take things too serious. And by that, I don't want to miss any opportunities or chances to also, kind of really put myself out there. So we'll see what that means.
Nice. Now, Bill Smythe would be your running mate.
I love Bill. I love Bill. Oh my goodness. I definitely have so much respect for that man. He would definitely need to be a part of my circle.
I'm sure he would want to be a part of your circle. In fact, I'm a little surprised he's not here, because he joins us fairly often on these chats. So my last question before we let you go, and this is more of just observations, pearls of wisdom, your thoughts on the last 4 months.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, my goodness, I think that we all realize, there just hasn't been a time like there is, but, to be a bright light for the future. There have been some real Hoosier hospitality that I've witnessed firsthand over these last, 4 months as well. I think that there is an opportunity for us. I think there's an opportunity for all of us, whether it is dealing with the COVID or the racial injustice, certainly the economy, the workforce issues, our families, the small businesses that are going to need a lot of help. I got to tell you, I know that it can seem overwhelming and glooming, and there are days I think that I have that as well. But there is also a completely other side to that. And you know what? I think that not only is the west side of Indianapolis going to continue to thrive and do great things, but also the state of Indiana, and I also believe this country and the people in it. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world, but I got to tell you, I would say that it has given me, and again, you're talking to somebody whose husband of 30 years had a stroke just a few months ago and is walking around the house while I'm talking right now. You know, I realize that there is a lot of blessings, and I'm going to take every single one of them. And so I would much rather say all the things that are going to lift us up. It's not like I'm not dealing with reality of the future. We know there's unknown there, but most importantly, I'm prepared for it. I'm excited about the opportunities, and as difficult as it has been, it's been great to kind of be there together with all of us and figure it out. And I know we'll all have some really interesting memories years to come during this time.
Oh, for sure. We have one final question from Indianapolis radio legend Russ Dodge.
Oh boy, hi Russ.
We use that term very loosely here. You know, the comment is, it seems we're more polarized than we were 30 years ago in a lot of respects. And so my question to you, Karlee, is how do we bring people back together again when in some cases it seems like they don't even want to be?
Yeah. Well, I think that is a question that's, you know, a lot of us are asking ourselves. But for me personally, you know, I rely on grace, Russ, a lot. And by that, I just mean, I know there are times when I want to say things or respond to things, and I can hear that voice in my head say, don't do that. Or whether that would be to my husband, Chad, or some social media or some other kind of BS. What I have realized that it is important for people like me who are in leadership positions, who I know that people look up to me, that it is important. The way that I respond and the way that I react to things are very important, and it's a really good first start. But I don't really have the best answer. I do know that I think that we all have to realize that there's a lot of pretty shitty human behavior. And but also, I know for me personally, I am ready and willing to listen and learn from people in a way that I think we have to start with something as simple as that. And but for me personally, I just rely a lot on grace. Peace is something really important to me as somebody who is a problem solver. If I'm not willing to be a good listener in a way to diffuse a situation as well, to be able to come up with ways to solve what is at hand, then I'm not going to be able to help with anything myself. So for me personally, I've had to rely on that. And I know for people who know me, by the way, it's interesting because I've been known to use the F word a few times. And so occasionally people will say, well, but I didn't use the F word one time while I was, so I have been known to be careful with some of the things that I say. It's kind of, to me personally, it's extremely important though, as far as leadership goes right now. It is people really are watching, and you don't have to be a 12-year-old to do what others do. So I hope that I can give that calmness to others and be someone who people know that could be a mediator sometimes for all of that too. But I'm going to continue to pray about it, Russ. And
I want to be on your team on however that progresses. I think you could do a lot, trying to be part of the infrastructure of building a statewide effort, because it's a person at a time, going county by county. You know, my past experience in Network Indiana Radio, where we work with darn near every county in the state, it's a different world out there, as you well know. But if you go in there and you're one-on-one with people and you find the commonalities, there's more there than sometimes people realize.
Well, and I agree. And I think, Russ, of all the people who are here with us today, you of all people, I know you have known me for 15, 20 years. You know the work that I personally have done. Nothing is about a title or ever has been for me, but no one has ever given me anything. I like to do the hard work. That really is my work. And for people who live in our community that have known me over the years, they would have never guessed I would be in politics, one, but they've known me for my willingness to do the work and to make things happen. And I know that, Russ, you've been a part of this journey with me, and a lot of what I've been able to accomplish, you've been right there beside me.
And keep advising the West Side Chamber. We could use all the good advice. And there's another person on this call, Krista, who knows that too, because she's an advisor on the board. And likewise, the same things that we can do with you, Brad. As soon as we can bring everybody together, that East Side meets West Side, we're totally on board from the West Side.
We are excited because Monarch Beverage has already offered to host and provide beer.
All
well,
right.
whenever it is,
I love it.
We're in.
All right. So
okay.
With that, Representative Baser, I want to thank you very much for your time and for joining us today. You have been fantastic. Great job in your last 8 years in the legislature representing Hoosiers' interests. Best of luck to you on whatever the future holds for you. For those of you who are with us, next week, our guest, and he is confirmed, now former WTHR political reporter Kevin Rader is going to be here to talk about his 33 years covering Indiana and politics in Indiana. And we will be back, as you all noticed. I am now finally in Studio A. I started this job in mid-February. The governor told us all to go home in mid-March, and this is the first time I've been able to do a chamber chat from my actual office since we started doing these. So hopefully I will be back. Actually, next week I'll probably be on the road doing that, but regardless. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, tonight we have our cruise in over on Lawton Loop at the Old Fort. Be signing up. We're taking registrations for our golf outing at the Fort Golf Course on September 8th. October 1st, we have Governor Holcomb is joining us for our annual membership luncheon. So be getting those reservations in. With that, thank you all for joining us. Representative Macer, please pass along our best to your husband, Chad. We're glad to hear he's doing well. So
I appreciate it.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And fortunately, he didn't prance around behind you in his underwear.
He wanted to.
I wanted to do that on other people's Zoom chats too. So, all right. Well, everyone have a great week, and I'll hopefully see you next week.
Thanks so much.